Welcome everyone. Today we are going to be installing my Surron seat adapter kit for the Razor SX500. This is a full kit with seat adapters, hardware, and a beauty cover which fills the gap between the gas tank and the seat. This is entirely designed in-house and 3D printed using PETG plastic, so it's a very strong kit and it fits perfectly on the SX500 so that you can have a much comfier ride. Some of the tools you're going to need are an 8mm socket, a 10mm socket, a 4mm Allen wrench, a screwdriver, and a ratchet for the sockets, of course. You're also going to need a Surron seat, and I would recommend getting a Surron rear fender because it really helps to complete the look. Now we're going to be installing this seat adapter on my friend's SX500. It's a little bit modified, but the procedure should be the same. The seat is held in place by a few of these 4mm Allen bolts and then some 8mm headed bolts on the underside of the seat. And once you get all those removed, you simply need to slide the entire thing backwards. It should unhook from the frame, and then you'll be able to work on removing the seat from the plastics. So we'll want to remove just the front plastics from the seat. You've got about 8 screws that are holding it down to the seat, and also the black triangles holding to the rear plastics. Once you've got all those removed, it should look a little bit like this. And then we can go ahead and bring it to the bench where we're going to bolt on our beauty cover. And this is going to reuse the factory hardware, so you don't need any extra hardware for this. It's going to line up perfectly just like the seat did. And what I like to do is install all the screws first loosely and then come back around and tighten them all down so that the cover lines up really well. You can also install a couple of those screws back on these triangles here, and that'll kind of complete the look. Now when you're installing the factory plastics back on the bike, you want to make sure that the rear end of the plastics, where the 3D printed piece is, locks into the frame first before you tighten the bolt that's holding the front of the plastics. And this basically guarantees that the 3D printed hooks will keep the plastics on the frame centered and they're not going to be able to slip out. Now we can go ahead and install our brackets onto the Surron seat. Go ahead and line up the front one first and then tighten down your 10mm nuts. Then we can go ahead and install the rear bracket by sliding it over the frame and then use the 8mm bolts to thread into the plastic, which has 3D printed threads, and you'll be securing this mount in place so it has no chance of moving around. Now you can go ahead and grab your Surron seat and line it up with the center post of the frame. Slide it forwards so that it gets underneath the bracket from the frame, and then you can put the rear end into the holes in the 3D printed bracket. And once those are tightened down, the installation is complete. Here's what the bike looks like with just the components from the kit. Like I said, I do recommend grabbing a Surron rear fender, but even without a rear fender, the kit looks really smooth, especially when you're sitting on the bike. It doesn't feel like there's any gap where you can see the frame. However, I do recommend adding a Surron rear fender because it slips on so easily to the seat. And in fact, I designed my own rear fender, which you can see here in white, fully 3D printed, and it's available on my site in a ton of different colors if you're interested in spicing up your build. I really think that it completes the look of this bike, and everything comes together with a much more comfortable seat feel than the factory. You can also see that this is a sturdy kit. And I also went and designed a front plastics keeper, which is made for people that are running a bigger battery and maybe they're not able to use the factory battery plastics, or maybe they lost them. This is going to hold both of your side fairings in place so that they're not flapping around in the wind. It bolts onto the frame and then uses a couple of screws that self-thread into the plastics and hold them in place really firmly. So check out this kit on my site along with more Razor accessories and upgrades. Ride safe out there, and thanks for watching.